Learning, I'm learning about the different theories, because in ART, that's what they do. A lot of people play and joke around about, learning about triggers and how do you control your emotions and then doing role plays. And they don't realize that there's there's an evidence-based theory that comes behind this. And a lot of it has to do with, social sciences and the different theories around cognitive behavior theory. Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking about. And so this brother tells me, he says, come on, humble man, what are you doing? Why are you taking this thing so serious? You know you're not going to do this when you get home. And so there was this conversation that I had with him, and I'm like, come on, bro, let's just do this, man. This is important, and let's get through this. And I remember bumping into this brother post-incarceration outside. I'm with my suit and tie, and not to take away from him, he was working. But when he sees me, he's like he was taken aback, and he was like, I guess, Mm-hmm. So I guess he didn't want to go there, but in the back of our minds, we both say, yeah, you see, I am still doing this, just like you're still doing this. So, but it starts within the prison. Mm-hmm. So that whole piece around rehabilitation, reentry, even reintegration, it has to start from day one, right after they put them handcuffs on you, like T2 always said. Mm-hmm. That's when it starts. Because if you wait until the day you're released, it may be too late, and you may fall victim for many reasons to that 67, 77%. So let's talk about your findings with your dissertation, specifically around that you wanted to touch on social acceptance.
And that's a big piece. Yeah. I think that's what really stood out for me. As we noted earlier, education has many benefits. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the transformation of the individual, transformation of the mindset. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that you just mentioned. And the thing is that we have 40 principles in our belief windows, mm-hmm. right? And mm-hmm. what CBT is based on the premise that if you can change the way you think, then you can change the way you act.
Malcolm said that.
Malcolm said that, and it's right. Been Malcolm said X. Over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that we know these things, mm-hmm. and sometimes we don't take advantage of this. I mean, it's changed in one sense. Human agency, the individual's responsible for making choices, mm-hmm. and that's one of the choices that we have is either to do the right thing or not do the right thing. Mm. So one of the biggest things that really stood out for me in my findings was social acceptance. Mm-hmm. Acceptance by the family, acceptance by the community. And that's very big because we always expect individuals to go in, right, get rehabilitated, come out, and become, good citizens, in other mm-hmm. words. Yeah. And what happens is you often come out, right, but the mindset of those individuals who are leaders in our communities, who have positions of authority, and basically the majority of individuals in our society have thought of us as one way. Mm. Once a criminal, always a criminal. And that's not always the case. And I think that mentality is what continues to plague us. Mm-hmm. We speak about recidivism. How can we decrease recidivism? Well, we do have some good interventions. We have education. That's one of the things. The president's agenda also calls for social programs for prisoners mm-hmm. upon reentry. But the truth of the matter is that we can have all the programs in the world and we can change and rehabilitate ourselves. But if we're not accepted, then guess what happens? Mm-hmm. We become ostracized. And to feel not only that you're ostracized from the community you're coming into, some cases your own families. Yeah. But you're also being ostracized by your old cultural groups. And because we're no longer involved in criminal behavior, right? But now we've made the necessary changes in our lives. We've gotten educated. We've developed great working experiences and skills. And so we're in a position to really be assets to our communities, to our families, and to society at large. However, if we're not accepted, what usually happens? We usually stand in between a rock and a hard place. Yeah. And so that in itself can actually contribute to high recidivism rates. Yeah. You mentioned some of these stats earlier, mm-hmm. and you said about 67.5% of individuals who are released from prison go back within the first 3 years, and then increases on the 5th year, increases to 75%.
Yeah.
So and then in the 10-year range, it also it's like 50%. So we're dealing with some critical issues, and we're at a critical time because we have the current administration who's all for prison reform and restorative justice in the case. But we need to continue to educate the population. We need to be able to have these conversations, even if they hurt people's feelings. And we need to continue to advocate because we definitely need a change of mentality for, in our society. So.
And I mean, I'm glad you mentioned some of the reforms because this has been a long time coming. I mean, I hear when I listen to the president talk, when I listen to all the people who, kind of jumping on I mean, it's a good thing they're jumping on the bandwagon of this movement that has been going on for many, many years. Sometimes, I mean, obviously 4 decades. For 4 decades, I've known people and I've come under the mentorship of people who have been saying this has been a failing system. The war on drugs has been a failing system. It has been a system where there's a lot of structural injustices, including racism, institutional racism, where the numbers show, blacks and Latinos overpopulating the prisons system, and not just in New York, but throughout the United States. And so these things we've been talking about for many years, and we've known that some of the solutions that help. And so now we have the current administration under President Obama. He was in Newark just recently. He went to a drug program. He visited a prison, the first standing president. But I mean, I can't help but think about, those are great steps forward, but that still seems to be this dichotomy, this divide and conquer thing where they're mainly talking to and talking about and opening up doors for nonviolent drug offenders, right? And
that has always been the case.
Yeah, because it's an easy sell. And we've been talking about this for years. The same thing with the parole board. The parole board, it for a lot of nonviolence, it's looked upon different than for people who are, convicted of a violent felony. And this is not to say that, we need to take away from the seriousness of a violent crime. Not at all. But that we should also be advocating for those who are convicted of violent felony offenses and give them an opportunity as well, because the statistics also prove that if someone did 20 years for a violent felony offense and they come home, besides the fact that they're going to be super appreciative that they've been released, right? They're less likely to recidivate.
Yes.
And so we
that's
definitely
what the
need.
says.
That's what the research. So talk about some of that dichotomy, and that also plays into the societal acceptance, because we're pushing to accept one specific group and not another.
Well, you speak about the nonviolent offenders, right? And we know that that was one of that I used to hate on them so much.
Yeah. You and I both.
I used to hate on them because that was one of the things. They had the work release program. They also had the the early release. They would be able to put in after 3 years and
later on with the merit board.
Yeah, the merit board, and they would be released early, and in spite of what time they got in the beginning. And that was always an issue for me. I mean, now I think differently because it is a blessing.
Yeah.
I see substance use and abuse as
I'm glad you mentioned that because I want to talk about that, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I see substance abuse as a condition, is a medical condition. And if you have individuals who are substance abusers, then they need treatment, not prison. And I agree with that. But I didn't always think like that.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I came across, and it was recently, after I spoke to you in terms of coming here, is they have a program. It's actually in Illinois, which is miles away, a few miles away from Chicago, which has one of the highest recidivism rates for blacks and Latinos.
Yeah.
So they have a program there, and this is an excellent program. It's actually based on a treatment model. So yes, individuals who are incarcerated there but there's no walls. They are there. It's almost like a 3-tier program where during their incarceration they undergo a lot of extensive counseling for their substance use issues. The other thing they have is vocational and job training, which is another excellent component to that. And then once they complete their time and they re-enter society, they're actually assigned a case manager who helps them along the way. So that is an awesome, I think, model for to address the recidivism issue. That's a real big piece, because this prison has decreased recidivism rate by 75%, and that's awesome. There's no 100%. You and I both know, right? But talking about violent offenders, well, what happens to violent offenders? Well, we have models throughout, the world that we can actually say, you know what? Why don't we follow in that same example and see how it turns out for us? There is a prison called Bastøy Island Prison, and it's out in Norway. And the interesting piece about this prison is that it's specifically for violent offenders. Okay? And if I was to tell you that their recidivism rate has decreased, right? They only have a 16% recidivism rate.
Wow.
So just think about that, Steve. It's effective. It was actually a program that was implemented 32 years ago, and it's still running today. And one of the things with they have a few guards in the prison, right? It's specifically for violent offenders. The guards and the incarcerated individuals work together, right? They also learn on-the-job training. They teach them farming. They teach them how to do basically everything to maintain the island. Okay? The guards, you want to know the biggest piece? Have no knife sticks and no guns.
Wow.
Okay? So that's really powerful. And when you start looking at human beings as human beings, guess what? They act like human beings. But in the U.S., we basically, we're big on tough on crime,
punishment,
and punishment.
That's right.
And so that has been the problem, and continues to be the problem.
Oh yeah.
And I know that it has a lot to do with the soaring recidivism rate. So that's pretty big. And I had to share that with you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's because it is. It's not like we have to really reinvent the wheel when it comes to trying to do away or diminish as much as we can recidivism rate. Because what we're talking about, when we're talking about diminishing recidivism rate, this is something that's beneficial to the whole society, no matter where on the political spectrum you stand. You could be the right-wing Republican Tea Party person, and you and your family benefit from someone who is convicted of a crime, goes through the process of incarceration, and comes home and becomes, an asset to the community, because these are the people that you're going to be seeing and you're going to be, walking by in the street. You're going to probably be, on the bus with, and you want to make sure that this person is looked upon as a human being throughout that whole process, where now, you're gonna wind up saying and seeing and receiving this relationship from this person that is healthy, right? They're gonna be contributing. We're gonna be contributing to the society in a healthy way. We're gonna be helping the economy, and we need people to come home and work on the economy, because there's, we're still dealing with, so much stuff happening in the economy. But all right, yeah, I'm telling you, the hour goes by so fast. But what do you think about the current reforms that are taking place now? Because a lot of this it's like a huge swell, and it's, from the Koch brothers to yeah, right? And so, and there's always
talking about rulers of the world, right?
Yeah, I know. So what are your thoughts around some of that? And
well, we've come a long way, Stephen. I mean, and it all has to do with a concerted effort by many individuals, including, social service agencies, religious-based organizations, incarcerated individuals who took on the role of advocates, because to tell you the truth, like we stated, that stinking thinking, that mentality that we are criminals and we can never be reformed. I mean, that continues to plague us till today, and that's what I believe is one of the things that we need to continue to talk against. We need to continue to raise conciencia, as you would say.
That's right.
And the thing is that without that peace, no matter how much policy changes we make, no matter how many services we provide for prisoners' reentry, we're still gonna come short. So I think that as a collective society, we need to start doing some self-searching, changing the stinking thinking. We need to adapt new attitudes towards formerly incarcerated individuals, because they are assets in our communities. You know that the circle that we come around, that we come from, we out there, not just doing the right thing to sort of like demonstrate that we have changed, but we are also setting examples. And we also carry the cross that we need to set an example good enough so that others behind us will be able to come out and get jobs. Not only get jobs, because this is the key piece. Although we have Article 23A and we have laws that protect against looking into our youthful records and for the purposes of
and now
denying
we have
us
the box.
Exactly. Now we have banned the box. But if you really think about it, there's always a way to find out who the individual is, and they continue to do that. So we need to continue to talk against those discriminatory practices in the workforce. We need to continue to stand up and really promote a change of mentality, and start so that we can make a good impact.
We're out of time, but in 30 seconds, a message to the brothers and sisters that are inside right now listening. What should they be doing?
Well, like you said earlier, it's all about, at this point, you need to educate yourself. And I'm not saying that it needs to be a formal education, because it doesn't exist in every prison. But educate yourself. Listen to WBAI, right? Stay aware of what's happening in the community. Stay aware of what the brothers are doing out here. And don't be a statistic. Take control of your life. Make the necessary changes so you can return back to your family, to your communities, and to society, and be an asset to society.
Thank you. And how do people get in contact with you, just in case if...
Well, I have an email, sarroyo1028@gmail.com, and you're welcome to contact me. I'm open. I'm a mentor. I like to help out, and I'm about people. So,
all right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Sammy Arroyo, one of the very few Boricuas, and I'm so proud, who has a doctorate degree, because you fall among the minority too.
1%.
We're talking about that 1%. And that's huge, man. I'm like so proud and so inspired. So definitely, those of you who are listening inside, we're here for you. We are advocating for you. We are representing you, but you also need to represent as well. If you're dealing with certain issues like addiction, deal with it now while you're inside, because we need you out here. And so we come to the end of our show, and we close out in our traditional closing, as Eddie Ellis has always said. Don't give in. Don't give out. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Stand tall in spite of it all, and stay on the count.